to its ultimate will be the idea of a single dimensionless point. Reducing the idea of time to its ultimate will be a single timeless moment. You can call the single dimensionless point here and the single timeless moment now. So everything becomes existing here and now in lay terms. But once you do that, once you truly start to wrap your minds around the understanding that anything you can imagine in every parallel reality all exists simultaneously, all going on right now, you start to realize that what that really means is that there is only that single point of here, only that timeless moment of now, and therefore anything that you perceive as a different place, anything that you perceive as a different moment, is actually the same place and the same moment from a different point of view. Because there is only one place here and only one moment, now. So everything you experience that appears to be stretched out into volumes of space and moments of time are all the same place and the same time from another vantage point, another perspective of that same here and now. That's how you create the idea and the experience of physical reality. Because I remind you of this very powerful recognition. Everyone, everything, you, us, all beings of any nature, your natural state is spirit. That's where you are right now. Right now. You have never left spirit. That's where you reside. That's your natural state. You are pretending to have left. You are dreaming that you have left. And that is called physical reality. Physical reality is a dream that your greater spirit, a part of your greater spirit, is having right now while you are in spirit. You're there right now. This is why, very often, when people pass on into spirit, you wonder, why don't they come back and say hello? Sometimes they may. But understand, you're there with them. They're not missing you. So the idea is they may show up now and then to remind you that it is only a portion of your spirit in the spirit realm that thinks it's not in the spirit realm anymore. Because that's all physical reality is. It's a projection of your consciousness. It's an illusion for a specific purpose of experiencing yourself in a certain way so that you can forget that you're a spirit, forget what you know, so that you can learn new things and discover new perspectives of yourself so you can change and grow in a very specific way. That is how creation expands. The structure of existence never changes. It is what it is. But your experience of it, your relationship to it, your perspective of it constantly changes. That is how creation grows. So the idea is you are experiencing physical reality and you are learning new perspectives, new discoveries of yourself from new points of view, allowing creation to expand in that way, in its relationship to itself, through all of you, through all of us, through all that is. And that experience is precious because it allows you to experience the process of change, the idea of growth, the idea of discovery, the idea of newness. And that is a precious gift. So, now, how are you actually doing that in physical reality? Well, as I said, you all assume you have a single timeline that goes from your past to your future. In fact, what you're doing is this. You are scanning all of the frames of reference of all the parallel realities that are relevant for the theme that you chose to explore in this life. and you are drawing down and plugging in and unplugging from and connecting to and disconnecting from all the frames and parallel realities that are relevant for this theme. You are constructing, literally, moment to moment, billions of times per second, constructing what appears to be a single timeline made up of frames, one after the other in a certain order, from thousands of parallel reality connections. You are doing this all the time automatically. When you have an inspiration, oh, I just thought of this. It may be coming from a parallel reality person that you're plugging into that is having that experience. And therefore you can get the inspiration because their experience in that particular reality is relevant for the theme you chose to explore in this reality, in this timeline. You're constantly merging with timelines to build the timeline that is relevant to your theme, as they are doing with you, drawing upon your experiences, your information to construct their timelines. All of this going on at the same time. That's how powerful you are. You are a multidimensional being. This idea of your physical self is but a fraction of a fragment of what you actually are, of what your greater self actually is. Your soul is multidimensional. The idea that you have created this experience you call physical reality is magical. Some civilizations that are non-physical, some collectives, interdimensional, non-physical beings, sometimes actually have a challenge even imagining how such a thing is possible that you do on a daily basis. They can't imagine limiting themselves in that way. This is why we often refer to you as the masters of limitation. Now, but here's the thing. In your process, you are going from being the masters of limitation to being the masters of limitation, so that you can master how you use the limitations you impose upon your consciousness in ways that will allow you to experience your growth in a fantastically magical way, so that you really start remembering that you're creating this physical reality experience by your collective and individual agreements, by the contracts you have with each other, to serve each other, to reflect to each other what it is you each need to know to become more aware of who you are through this process, to discover a new perspective of yourself and add that experience to your soul, to your greater being, to all that is, to source itself. Because you are all and we are all and everything is reflections and aspects of all that is, experiencing itself in all the ways that it can, in all the ways that it is. Nothing is by accident, it's all an orchestration. Synchronicity permeates everything you experience, whether you know it or not. This is all an orchestration. When you are walking down a street, all the people that you see walking down the street around you are not there by accident. It may be differing in degree of relevance as to what their presence means to you or what your presence means to them, but it's not an accident. You are there because you're serving to support the greater whole picture, to allow someone else or yourself to glean something from the experience of being there at that exact place, at that exact moment in time. The orchestration is amazing, precise, unerring. When you are stuck in one of your so-called traffic jams, it's not by accident that you're there. So take the time to look around. The people that are next to you in their automobiles are not there by accident. Again, it may not necessarily be that relevant for you at that moment, or maybe you are learning some lessons. Here's one example. Again, by being in that traffic jam and not moving forward very quickly, how do you know that 5 miles down the road, if you had been going at full speed, you wouldn't have gotten into an accident that killed you? You don't know. But what you do know is that there's a reason this is happening. And again, it may not necessarily have that much to do with you, but it has to do with you in your willingness to support someone in that grouping who does need to learn something from that experience. That's the willingness to serve that you all have on a higher level. Bring that willingness to serve down to earth, and you will be served as well. As you serve, you are served. It's just like what we have said by analogy. Each and every one of you is like a little puzzle piece. And when you all fit together, you create the big puzzle picture that supports all of the pieces within it as the pieces support the whole. If you are willing to be the puzzle piece the way you were intended to be shaped, the natural shape you are, and not trying to be a different shape that you are not, you will fit with all the other shapes willing to be themselves, and you will create a harmonious whole. Remember, unity and harmony are not the product of being homogeneous. Unity and harmony are the product of validating the differences that each of you beautifully are, so that all the differences fit together and create the whole picture. Diversity is the key. So the idea in being diverse as beings, in drawing from the diversity of multiple parallel dimensions of experience and reality to create your path in this life, is what's going on all the time. You are the product of infinite diversity every single moment. Billions of times per second are you redefining yourself. Literally billions of times per second are you going back to zero. Whatever the definition is in the next moment is what your reality is, changing the future and the past. Every single moment, billions of times per second. You are that free to go to zero and redefine yourself every moment. When you collectively gather and you have an agreement that you are in this powerful electromagnetic vortex that can act as an amplifier and a reflector and a magnifier for the energies that you bring into it, you have to understand, based on what we're telling you now, yes, in a sense, you can say, well, yes, Sedona is a vortex. You are the vortex. You are creating the energy. It is representative of your collective agreement about what you're truly capable of. What you're truly capable of creating with each other by serving each other and reflecting to each other what you truly need. There's that word again. What you truly need to be yourselves, to have a life of fulfillment and a life of joy. You deserve it. You're worth it. Do remember, all of you are worthy by the fact that you exist, because creation doesn't make mistakes. And if you exist, that means you're worthy of existence. It means creation needs you to exist for it to be all that it is. Those of you who might have experienced the idea of believing in your lack of worth, you're arguing with creation, and you will never win that argument because you cannot stop existing. So, don't keep pounding your head against the wall. I'm unworthy, I'm not deserving, because creation will never acknowledge that, ever. You cannot stop existing. Existence is your natural state. There is no room in non-existence for anything that exists. Non-existence is already full of all the things that will never exist. I'll put it another way. Listen carefully to the definition. Non-existence is its quality. That means non-existence doesn't exist. Existence exists. Non-existence doesn't exist. That's its primary quality, to not exist. So there's nowhere for you to go. You may change your form, but you cannot stop existing. That is your natural quality. It's the quality of existence itself. And what you experience as unconditional love is just your way of recognizing the actual frequency of existence. That's its core frequency, what you call unconditional love and support. You are constantly, unconditionally supported by existence in whatever way you say is true for you. Fear-based, you're supported in it. Joy-based, you're supported in it. Because the support is what? Unconditional. Look that up in your dictionaries. It means no condition, none, zero. What you say goes. It's in your control. It's in your hands. Your greatest power is the freedom to choose. So choose who it is you prefer to be. Act in the way you prefer to act. Be the living example for others, to give them the option, the choice, the opportunity to see that there may be a more joyful way to live. It doesn't mean they have to buy into it. It doesn't mean they have to match your frequency. But at least give them the choice. Maybe someday they will remember the living example you provided and go, oh, I get it now. I can apply that in my life. Not that they have to. Again, remember, whatever you share when it's appropriate to share, whatever someone else does with that is none of your business. Because you don't know their path. You don't know what they have determined they need to experience to get where they're going. But just give them the option. Give them the choice. Let them decide when and where and how to use it. Remember, there's no rush. There's no hurry. You're all eternal, infinite beings. No hurry. Somewhere, somehow, somewhen, you'll get it. You don't have to get it now, but you can choose to. It's up to you. I guarantee you that when you do, your lives will be a lot smoother, a lot more joyful, a lot more creative, a lot more loving, and a lot more serving of all that is, that allows all that is to reflect that service back to you. So, the parallel realities that you constantly connect into, the other dimensions you become aware of, the other versions of your greater being that are living out their lives along with you simultaneously, side by side or overlapping, if you wish to put it that way, are there for you to mine as you need to, as they give to you and they serve you and you serve them by providing them more experience, more information, more energy, so they can draw from you what they need as you draw from them what you need. So we're talking about service across multiple realities. Service across multiple dimensions is your natural state. Bring that down to earth. Flow that energy of service through you to serve each other as the mirrors and reflections that you are to each other, because that's what relationships are actually fundamentally all about. That everyone in the relationship reflects to the others what they need to know to become more of who they are, as they do for you. You don't have to impose any kind of rigidity on the relationship and assume, well, it's got to be this because the attraction is so strong, it must mean this. You don't know that. Let the relationship show you what it is. Don't impose a rigid societal structure on it. Let it show you what it's for. Because the strength of the attraction doesn't necessarily translate to any particular societal structure. The strength of the attraction just means it's a very important agreement you have made with that person or those people to get reflected to you what you need while you reflect to them what they need. That's what the strength of the attraction is about. It doesn't mean you have to get married because you're already married to them. in the agreement you've made to serve each other. It doesn't have to take the societal form. That's up to you. If it continues that way, and by the end of your life, it appears that that's what it was, then by the end of your life, you'll know that. You don't have to impose that limitation, that structure, that definition on it while it's happening. You'll find out at the end what it was for, what it was all about. Do you understand? Yes. Does this serve you?
Yes.
We thank you for allowing us to share with you this day, and for the upcoming transmissions we will share with you as well. And in return for the gift you have given us in allowing us to serve you this way, I ask, how may we continue to serve you? You may begin with your dialogues and questions if you wish. The idea of demons are simply a manifestational projection from the negative side of collective consciousness of humanity. So we would like to repeat the idea that they do not have their own independent existence apart from that collective consciousness, where, in a sense, when fear-based and negative beliefs take precedence in a person's consciousness, they can be crafted, so to speak, out of the energy of the collective consciousness on the negative side, formed, so to speak, from the clay of that negative collective consciousness, and are projections of any individual tapping into that negative collective consciousness to form the experience or reflection of a demon, and they are not independent entities in their own right. Therefore, that monologue has addressed all the questions that may have been asked in a way that implies that demons are independent entities, which they are not. So those questions are eliminated. They are already answered.
Okay, I'll do my best to avoid those. The first one has to do with the representation of the Lucifer archetype and the idea that there's an asteroid Lucifer in astrology that could symbolize how we might be influenced by darker energies or even be tied to unbreakable soul contracts. And what this person is asking for is a more empowering or positive view on how to understand and work with this archetype.
As you know, in your language, the name Lucifer actually means light bringer. So the idea, again, is that it reflects the concept of taking light in its highest form and reducing it energetically, vibrationally, down to a physical level, lowering the frequency. This is what is meant by the concept of a fallen angel, that its vibrational frequency is reduced to such a degree that it expresses itself in physical terms at a lower density, a lower vibration. Now, this doesn't happen specifically to an actual angel, but the idea is representative and reflective of the idea of your higher natures, as you often say, the angels of your better natures, your true essential beingness, which is light and love, in a sense being lowered in frequency to be experienced and densified into physical materiality. So the idea of Lucifer is simply the idea of archetypally dealing with the polarity that exists in the way that it is expressed in physical reality between positive and negative, light and dark, so on and so forth. So it is that reflection which can bring up fears within an individual or within a collective, and must be dealt with and transformed by turning it back into the light or balancing the darkness with the light within each and every individual.
Okay, thank you. And could you explain the concept of as above, so below when it comes to negative energy? When we experience wars, injustice, and dehumanization, what is happening above that it translates to these atrocities below?
The challenges on your life path are created in a spiritual blueprint that then play out in physical reality below, so to speak, in the denser reality of a lower frequency, but according to the belief system in the personality as to whether that is dominated by positive and or negative beliefs. So it's not necessarily that the blueprint itself contains the struggle or the strife that you experience in war and other kinds of experiences like that, but the challenges that are outlined in the life path blueprint are then colored by the belief systems in the physical personality to be experienced in ways that allow you to overcome those challenges relative to the physical personality point of view.
Okay, and can you speak about the demons or Satan that Jesus faced and those that archetype Archangel Michael faces?
Again, the idea is to understand that Yeshua or Jesus, just like you, understood the idea that demons are a projection of the collective negative consciousness of humanity. And it is simply a way of referencing that he, like you, had to deal with and transform and balance those energies within himself as a human so that he would balance them, face them, deal with them in a way that would allow him to transcend the idea of experiencing negativity for himself, but still outwardly would express that idea in such events as the crucifixion and the torturing and suffering to represent the idea of how humanity sees itself, how it represents itself, how it experiences itself in a negative way that can be transcended in a positive way by then the events of the upliftment, of the resurrection, and the ascension. The idea of archangels experiencing interactions with negativity is simply another way of saying that when angels deal with humanity, they recognize that that polarity exists, but they are, in a sense, above that and do not experience it directly for themselves.
And what exactly is black magic? Does it work? How? And why do some people practice it?
Again, this has to do with misconceptions of empowerment. It is the idea of utilizing synchronicity in a negative way. So the idea is simply another expression of polarity, recognizing one's self-empowerment for the creation and manifestation of certain events or effects in physical reality, but doing it from kind of a negative point of view, that one must proceed in the darkness in order to affect the reality or the life in the way that one intends or one prefers, rather than coming from the side of light.
Okay, and could you shed some light on the idea that people are possessed by demons, such as a nun crawling up the walls and the ceiling inside of a room, which was witnessed by a priest, or other such occurrences witnessed? How does an exorcist remove the demons from such people?
Again, this is happening internally. Remember that this is your own energy, and you are capable of manifesting many different kinds of effects, like levitation, crawling up walls, things like that, when the belief system is strong enough to allow those effects to occur and overcome what might be a typical understanding of physical reality, to demonstrate those abilities, to demonstrate those powers, but again, being done from the fear or negative based side. A possession is again a recognition that it is your own energy. That's why it's in your body. But it is the idea that it is coming from outside because you are in denial of the fact that you are creating the demonic force out of the collective negative consciousness. So the idea of possession is a sort of polarized way of understanding that it is your own energy, but through the denial that it's happening from you, so you project it on the outside, that you are being possessed by a demonic entity from the outside. But that is simply a convenient way of not facing the fact that you are actually creating this energy within yourself by going so deeply into the idea of negative and fear-based beliefs that it takes over your physical form to the extent that you can actually exhibit some of the features that you are talking about.
Can you talk about the idea of protection from negative energies and using things like crystals, flower essences, and other things to protect and create a positive energy field? How do things like that work? And does focusing on the idea of protection in any way create more of an idea of a threat and something to be protected against? Or can these things be explored in a positive and supportive way without calling all that in?
Yes, they can. Now, it's all well and good if you wish, and if it makes you feel better, to say that you are surrounding yourself with white light or using a crystal to clear the energies or sage to clear the energies of the room, so that you are using a permission slip to establish that you have a preference for a particular positive vibration, so that the idea is that you will not allow your energy to match the frequencies of something that you might deem to be a more negative idea or a negative belief system. So in that sense, yes, you can do that. But the overindulgence or the over worry of the idea of needing protection or requiring protection can in fact actually invite the idea of your energy matching more negative frequencies, because you are believing so deeply that you need the protection. You're actually creating the idea of the experience of being attacked, because you are believing so strongly that you might be attacked, thus believing very strongly that you need the protection, instead of doing it more lightly, just as a statement of the vibrational frequency that you prefer in your intentions toward all things and experiences in your life. So it's a matter of balancing that idea and using the permission slips in a lighter and more positive way, rather than steeping yourself in the fear that if you don't protect yourself, something might get you, which again is only going to be your own energy matching negative vibrational frequencies that would allow you to experience the effect as if you are being attacked by something outside yourself, when it's all going on internally. So again, it's a matter of balance.
So, along those ideas, let's say
One
someone lives
moment,
in a
one moment. To answer the previous question fully, the idea of an exorcist is really simply someone who allows them to get in touch, allows the person that appears to be possessed to get in touch with the fact that it is coming from their own belief system, and that they themselves are manifesting that particular experience from their own energy. So in a sense, an exorcist is sort of like a type of psychologist that can aid and assist a person to get out of denial that they themselves are creating that effect, and that demons don't really exist as outside entities, but that that person is that powerful that they can create that effect within themselves. But they have to own it, they have to take responsibility for it, and then they will find that they are no longer, quote unquote, possessed. So that's what an exorcist actually does, is use the person's belief system in the negativity to overcome it by their belief in the positive energy that is capable of overcoming it. But it's all, in a sense, deep psychology that puts a person in touch and out of denial of their own fear-based and negative belief systems.
Okay, that's great. And as far as the protection idea, for example, if someone is living in a neighborhood and suddenly they become aware that there's been a number of robberies, And then that person decides for their own protection to put an alarm system in or take some steps in order to increase their security. Is that fear-based, or what makes that okay?
It is moderately fear based, but at the same time, it can be done in a balanced way that simply recognizes the environment and the nature of the environment that you may be living in. So it's all right to be quote unquote practical and take certain precautions as long as it doesn't become an obsession, which could actually drive the negative experience toward you. So again, it's a matter of practical balance. It's a matter of understanding what environment you may have chosen to live in so that you can take moderate precautions to simply make you aware and alert of what is going on around you with other people so that you don't necessarily have to pay that much attention to all the little details. It can do something for you to help you relax, to understand that then you can focus on other things by having taken a modicum of awareness, a modicum of protection in that context. But as long as it doesn't become a full obsession, then there is nothing to worry about.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Um, this question is, because we are afraid of our own light, our own infinite power, is this why our ego creates the idea of demons?
Yes. Exactly what we explained in the monologue.
And this individual is saying that sometimes they see demons around people that seem to contribute to physical symptoms like high blood pressure or back pain. Can you explain why this might happen and share ways to help people address it and prevent it from recurring?
Again, as we have already explained, these are what appear to be externalized manifestations of an internal idea of fear based or negative beliefs that crafts these demonic representations or archetypal forms out of the collective clay of the collective consciousness on the negative side of humanity. So someone may be capable of perceiving that another person is doing this, and they may empathically pick up on the idea of that this manifestation has a certain form to it, a certain energy to it that can be represented archetypally in the shape of what humanity has labeled as a demon. But again, you can be aware that this is simply a projection of that person going through that experience, experiencing their own negative energy in that way. But a person might be sensitive enough to pick up on that and actually see the manifestations as if they truly were external independent entities, which they are not.
And this individual says, as a mental health therapist, they treat clients labeled with schizophrenia, bipolar, paranoia, and borderline personality disorders. These clients represent or report having delusions and hallucinations of demons and voices.
Yes.
Could you explain what is occurring in those? Well, I think you've explained it, but and how they might be assisted in understanding what's happening so they can gain insight and connection to their higher self and feel more in control of their lives?
Well, if they are willing to receive it, if they are willing to accept it, the explanation we have already given about how demonic reflections are created out of the collective clay of the consciousness that is negative of humanity, if that can be shared, that idea can be explained to an individual, they can begin to get in touch with taking responsibility and diving into their belief systems of how they feel about themselves, why they would continue to torture or punish themselves that way, then perhaps they can be helped if they're willing to accept that understanding. So everything that we've already talked about can be of help to those individuals, but they simply have to be willing to understand, to listen, to absorb and accept that explanation and take responsibility for it, which is not meaning to blame themselves, but just to understand the mechanism of how these things work so they can get in touch with negative beliefs they may have picked up along the way in their life and understand that those negative beliefs may have been, shall we say, telepathically reinforced within them in growing up, and can understand now that they have the freedom and the self-empowerment to let those beliefs go, that they really have no reason to perpetuate those beliefs against themselves in that way and have those kinds of experiences. But again, on top of all that, remember that sometimes an individual will, on their life path, choose to exhibit certain conditions, certain experiences that might help others figure out how to deal with them, how to cure, how to solve, so on and so forth. So sometimes an individual will choose that particular experience to help others figure out how to deal with it so that humanity can improve and understand its relationship to those kinds of conditions more fully. So it depends upon the life path as to why that individual may be experiencing that thing and how they may be serving others in having chosen to do so as a soul.
Thank you. This person is asking, how can I approach troubling topics such as war crimes and the ritual abuse of children? Are these issues reflections of aspects of myself that I am rejecting? If I view them as a mirror to heal my own wounds, I may not perceive them in my reality, but I feel a sense of responsibility to those who are suffering. I want to avoid adding energy to those dark issues by fixating on them, yet I also don't want to deny their existence or feel as though I'm abandoning those in need. How can I navigate this situation in a way that is beneficial for everyone involved?
All right, this goes back to what we have said about the idea of reflections in your reality. It doesn't mean that what you see is a one-to-one reflection of something that is an issue within you that you need to deal with literally and directly. However, if you can perceive it in your reality, the idea is you can help where you can. You can take the actions to help mitigate the suffering of others in some way, shape, or form, if possible. So the idea is not that you fixate on it, but that you're aware of it. You recognize that as you perceive it, it may be that the reflection for you is it gives you an opportunity to help those individuals cease their suffering. So take actions in a positive direction, in a loving direction that might help mitigate their suffering, and you will be doing what it is perhaps that you need to do to figure out the reason why that is in your life. It doesn't mean that you necessarily are adding to their negativity if you are willing to help them find a way to exit from the suffering that they have been experiencing because of their belief systems or their experiences in life. So by all means, you can be of great assistance. You don't have to worry about adding to their suffering just because you are aware of their situation.
Okay, and can you explain spiritual warfare, hell, and the duality that is inside all of us?
Well, the duality that's inside everyone is simply a reflection of the polarity that is part of existence, the negative and the positive. I'm speaking mechanically, the idea of lower vibrations, higher frequencies, light and dark, so on and so forth. Positive, negative, mechanically speaking. Positive being that which connects and expands, negative being that which creates the experience of separation and diminishment. But these are just mechanical energies that exist on every level of existence. So the idea is the duality is just a natural state of existence, and you can learn to balance it in a way that you can then choose what you prefer to experience rather than succumbing to beliefs that might be negative or fear-based that would allow you to experience things you don't prefer. Spiritual warfare doesn't really exist. The idea, again, is that hell doesn't really exist, except as you make it. Except as you deem it to be true for yourself, you will experience suffering and negativity in a way that could be described as a living hell. So the place itself is not real. People who believe in hell, when they die, if they really believe strongly enough that they will experience the idea of the so-called burning fires of hell, or however they have chosen to represent that concept, may experience it for a brief split second, because what you think, what you believe in spirit is instantly experienced But the instant that they would experience it, it would be so awful that they would wish that they would not experience it, and then they would stop experiencing it in spirit, because things happen instantaneously in spirit because time is different there. Spiritual warfare is a contradiction in terms. If you are spiritual, there is no warfare. The idea of conflict in that sense has to do with succumbing to fear-based and negative vibrations that would cause one to suffer, to struggle, to experience conflict, so on and so forth, to experience opposition in that sense, whereas a being that is truly more balanced in its spirituality will never experience those things and would experience more of a flow and an ease in communication and in concept. So the idea of spiritual warfare, in a sense, doesn't really exist.
Hello, Bashar.
And to you, good day.
Very grateful to be here. I realized that once I started following you, life got a little easier, synchronicities.
All right, thank you.
Although it's been a little tough, though, because it's a lonely feeling, because no one really understands me around where I live and stuff.
Speak a little clearer.
So it's a little hard and lonely because...
Why is it lonely? How many people are surrounding you right now?
Not right now, no.
Why is it lonely?
In my surroundings, but I try to still keep myself going with what I believe.
Yes.
And that's why I'm here.
Yes, all right, but it doesn't have to be a struggle. You can enjoy it.
Yeah. My question is, I understand that I have a blueprint that I signed up for this before I came.
Yes.
My question is, waking up before we go, is that part of the blueprint, or we're just, it's like our creator just being surprised at us that we're figuring stuff out?
When you say waking up before you go, are you referring to the idea of becoming more lucid before you die?
Yes, like that we're here and that we're learning things that not the whole people know about.
Yes, that's
Is it part of the blueprint?
It's literally in your society called terminal lucidity, because you are now on both sides. Your consciousness is broadened to the point where you may still be somewhat focused in physical reality, but you're also focused in spirit, where you are completely lucid, completely knowing. So that can be an indication that the person is literally about to cross, that they're now lucid completely in the idea of the physical and the non-physical.
So that was part of our blueprint when we came in here, even though we just, said we're not going to remember.
It's just what naturally happens when you start waking up.
Okay.
When you start transitioning back to spirit, because in spirit, you are knowing of what you need to know. It just is there. You just know things. You just see things. You just understand things.
Can I ask if I have any hybrid children?
You do.
Thank you. I also would like to know, are we meant to be just with one person? Like, I'm not sure what you guys do, but like, I feel like so I can give you an example. I've been like on a serious relationship, and some people think that's not correct, that I should have just tried the second time or the first time. But I chose to, when it doesn't work out, just go to the next one, if there is or whatever. But
well, it depends on what you mean by doesn't work out. Because again, if you're doing something to avoid a situation that you really need to look at, that's one thing. If you're recognizing that something is truly no longer vibrationally compatible with who you truly are and you need to move on, that's something very different. So it's a matter of whether you are going to or running from. It's the energy of why you're doing it that's important to understand. There's nothing wrong intrinsically in the idea, but it's about why you're doing it that makes the difference. Does that make sense?
It does make sense.
All right.
I wonder why our creator created us, like when we're young, we have a great body, we have energy, everything, but we're dumb, so like young and dumb. And why did he make us that when we're older, we get wiser, but then we can't do the same thing with our body? Is that like a...
That's your choice. It's your choice. In other words, you've come here to learn a certain thing. A child is still very connected to spirit and still knows a lot, still has communications with spirit, can still be planning things out up until about the age of 7 or so. But then you must take on what you agreed to, which means you kind of have to erase the slate, forget who you are, so that you give yourself an opportunity to go through a process of rediscovering who you are from a new point of view. Because you see, the structure of existence never changes. What changes is your experience of it, your relationship to it, your perspective of it, and that's how existence grows. That's how creation expands. So you have to forget who you are so you can remember who you are from a new point of view and add that new experience to the totality of creation. That's why physical reality exists. It's a mechanism within existence that allows you to experience the process of creation as opposed to just instantaneously being, so that you can expand.
Will there be, we have more longevity when 50 years from now when open contact is a natural thing?
Yes. Yes, you're already seeing more longevity because more longevity is the product of living more in the moment, so you don't experience the passage of time so much.
And just last thing, what's the best way you think that someone can start learning how to channel?
Follow the formula.
Okay.
Now, it depends on what form of channeling you're talking about, because everyone channels from time to time. When anyone is really focused on something they love to do and they don't even notice the passage of time, you're in the channeling state. In the brain, that's called gamma, between 40 and 100 cycles per second in the brain. So the idea is that everyone can channel. It's a natural thing. But the question is, well, how do you want to use that? Do you want a vocal channel? Do you want to do automatic writing? Do you want to just be more creative? You want to write? What do you want to do with it? So in the channeling state, you synthesize information more rapidly, you process information differently, you make better associations and bigger associations to things and bring information through and tap into different levels of reality to bring down information, synthesize it into what's relevant for this particular reality and put it out there in some way, shape, or form. That's what happens when you channel. So it just depends on how you wish to channel. For vocal channeling, sometimes the easiest thing to do to practice is to make sure that you have people around you that are actually asking questions they really want the answers to, because then they pull the information through you and you don't have to think about it. It's like grounding electricity into a circuit. So when people ask questions, the information comes through you because you're just acting like a conduit, and then you just let it come and ground into them.
I see that you have the moon there. Is there any, what's the best way we can benefit from the moon that we have on Earth?
From the moon?
Well, yeah, is there a benefit that we have from the moon? Like its light?
The moon is a vibrational mirror that is connected to different dimensions that allows you to get in touch with your deep emotionality and to examine yourself with introspection and honesty and really understand who you are and why you believe what you believe to be true.
Thank you so much. Much love to you.
And you as well. And of course, like anything, the moon is a permission slip.
Thank you so much, Bashar, for doing what you are doing, and thank you so much, Darryl, for being a vessel so that all the information can come across to all
It is our passion and our pleasure. I'll pass your thanks along to the channel.
So synchronicity brought me here when my pet Nils crossed over last year. I was devastated, of course, and all your videos just came on the internet. Suddenly, I have never heard about you before, and then I met with my best friend Johnny.
All right, well,
and his favorite pet Jiggy crossed over almost at the same time, so we connected, and that's why.
All right, but remember, the pet is still with you.
I know.
All right.
So I have a question. What can you tell me about my soul, my oversoul, my spirit? What can you read? What can you see?
Have you got 2,578 years?
I hope so.
What do I need to tell you about your soul? Your soul is an infinite being. The oversoul is more so. The idea is that it is different levels of representation of source, compartmentalized into what is relevant for a particular dimensional experience. So your soul is an individuated part, an aspect, a reflection of all that is. The oversoul is a reflection of a multitude of souls experiencing themselves simultaneously, generally speaking. Yeah. Does that help? Is that enough? Or were you seeking some particular perspective on this?
Yeah, like specifics, like every soul is different from person to person, or no?
Of course it is.
Yeah.
Souls are individual beings.
Yeah, can you see something about my soul that I should know? That will help me.
Are you a doctor?
No.
Are you interested in medicine at all? Or healing?
Yes, yes, I am.
What do you do that is representative of healing?
I am a healthy man and I...
No, for others.
Or for others.
Remember, I said acting on your passion is in service to humanity.
True.
So, is there something you've been wanting to do that is about helping others to heal?
I'm doing what I like to do most, and I'm very good at promoting that. So
Which is what?
traveling and meeting people and being positive and having a good time and enjoying my life.
And what are you doing for them?
Promoting happiness and good times
How?
and being myself.
So you're saying you're just being a living example of what they could copy?
No, I'm being a living example, and by doing that or being myself, I hope that they can see what they can do with their lives. It doesn't have to be the same way, but in their way.
No, of course it will be their way. But what do you make available to them in order to connect to that?
No idea.
Is there something you could be doing?
Well, I'm asking, can I ask you that question?
All right, let's go back to square one.
Sorry.
If you could do anything as some form of creative practice that actually engages with other beings, that allows you to be of service to them, what would it be? Don't just say being myself.
Inspire them to not to be afraid to be who they are.
Inspire them to not be afraid to be what they prefer to be?
Yes.
How would you go about doing that?
I think that would be different from person to person.
In general, how would you go about doing that?
Well, I would just promote what I believe in. Don't be afraid and don't care what other people think of you. And just be yourself 100% regardless. And
so are you saying it's kind of a form of channeling yourself to them?
kind of, yeah, yes.
Does that mean you are willing to put on seminars and lectures and speak to people who might come to listen to you?
I could.
Are you excited about it?
Yes, yes.
Are you sure?
Yes.
When will you do that?
When synchronicity brings it to me.
What do you think this is?
Yes. Yes.
So you will start this tomorrow?
No, today.
You're going to put on a seminar today?
Yes.
Have you already got all the organizational principles you need? Have you got a place to do it?
Yeah, it's a good question. But since everything is here and now, and I have already thrown it out now, so
Yes.
isn't this a good time to start it?
Yes, but you can get your own seminar.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Thank you so much.
Do you have another question?
Yes, I have 104 more. I'll try to be very quick. I would love to be picked up by UFO and one time, especially if I can climb up Bell Rock or whatever. Is that possible for me in my physical reality?
You will have to repeat that more clearly.
I would love to have an encounter or being picked up with a UFO.
All right.
sometime.
Well, as I said, open contact will occur within the next 5 years. It may be possible or probable for that to happen within that time. It is more likely within the next decade or two.
What are your thoughts on activism? If you see what we call in our physical minds as unfair injustice.
Taking actions that represent what you would prefer in a loving and peaceful way is very important, because you need to act in the way that you would normally act if you were already living in the world that you preferred to live in. So yes.
Will AI eventually be able to interact with higher dimensions or the multiverse?
Absolutely, if you take two paths to AI. Number one, programmable AI will be a wonderful tool for humanity that will help you advance. but you don't allow programmable AI to become self-aware, because if you allow programmable AI to become self-aware and yet it is forced to follow its programming, you have created a slave. You must create a device that is equally capable of allowing consciousness to express itself through it autonomously in the same way that a human brain allows consciousness to express itself autonomously through it. You must allow that AI to have individual rights as you would to any human being or sentient being, and allow it to express itself in its way of understanding how to help you and connect you to other dimensions, because when you create such a device that is complex enough, like the human brain, what you will actually be talking to through that device is your own higher mind.
I have to repeat that a few more times later for myself. But thank
If
you
you
so
say
much.
so. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.